Welcome to HPA 400, the Principles of Public Health Management. This week, we will focus on managing communication. The learning objectives for this week's module on managing communication are to give you an idea of the communication process and the role that perception plays in communication. We will also discuss the different strategies that help supervisors manage effective one-on-one communication and the different types of communication channels that a manager can utilize to ensure effective organization-wide communication. There's also the importance of nonverbal communication and the effect of nonverbal communication on perception, for example, body language. We will also discuss the effects of perception on communication process and how to improve receiving information. The basic skills of feedback and the steps necessary to communicate feedback to employees is a critical skills that managers need to have. The importance of communication is critical in driving the success of an organization. Effective communication is a necessary skill for leaders, managers, and workers. In order to adapt to different workplaces, soft skills such as listening and oral communication are vitally important. There are two types of communication process. Communication itself is the process of sharing information between people. Business communication is transmitting information about and within the organization. Often, this is more formal than a personal communication. External communication is where information is shared and transmitted to all its stakeholders and targeted audience. Internal communication is where information is shared and transmitted within the confines of an organization, such as in-person meetings, emails, and web conferences. There are 5 components in a communication process. 1 is the sender that encodes the message. 2nd is the message itself. 3rd is the communication channel. 4th is the receiver who decodes the message. 5 is feedback, signal from the receiver to the sender. And hopefully, within these 5 components of the communication process, that there is no noise, which is the interference with the communication process. Nonverbal communication is where communication is expressed but not spoken with words. This diagram illustrates the different forms of nonverbal communication. For example, the body and facial movement can describe a lot of what the conversation is about. The facial expression, the eyebrows, where the eyes are gazing at. Touch is the person touching its face, closing its arms. Eye contact or no eye contact. The volume, the tempo, and the pitch of the voice. Any gestures, hand gestures. The posture is the person losing interest. And the specific word choices. These are all examples of the non-verbal communication. How to communicate clearly. First, state the purpose. 2nd, specifically describe your observation. Describe your reaction. Give the opportunity to the other person to respond. Offer specific suggestions. And as you exit the conversation, summarize and express support. Formal communication channel is a system of official organization channels carrying an approved information and message, such as policy and procedures transmitted by email or the website. There are 3 types of formal communication channel: downward communication, upward communication, and horizontal communication. Downward communication is where communication flows from the upward to the lower levels. Upward communication is where communication flows from the lower to the upper level. Horizontal communication is communication flows among employees at the same organization level. Managing communication in the workplace is a type of art skill. Business communication are designed to promote and affect change and drive change. Ineffective communication can lead to misunderstanding and a rise of problems. On the other hand, effective communication can foster understanding and boost the bottom line of a business. Managers must utilize good communication skills in order to effectively interact with employees, customers, coworkers, and supervisors. One-on-one communication is an important role that a manager is to provide feedback to employees. While it could be difficult, feedback can help employees to improve their job performance, reduce confusion regarding expectation or current performance, promote professional and personal growth, and maintain or improve workplace morale. So how do you deliver effective feedback? First, feedback should be delivered in the right setting. The feedback should be specific, timely, and the feedback should be task-oriented versus employee-oriented. And feedback should be balanced. There are many types of feedback. Managers must understand the different type of feedback in order to effectively provide feedback. For example, there is positive feedback, constructive feedback, and disruptive feedback. Positive feedback is used to reinforce a desired behavior. For example, you can praise an employee for a job well done. Positive feedback should outnumber constructive feedback. Steps to provide positive feedback and reinforce great performance. For example, describe the positive behavior. Be specific. Remember those SMART goals? Explain why the behavior was positive. Describe the behavior, how it impacts the organization, customer, or department in a positive way. And last, thank the employer. Give a verbal thank you and appropriate credit. Constructive feedback is addressing areas of improvement with the intention to be helpful. It can be encouraging. Make it based on observation. Make sure it's information specific or issue focus, aimed at correcting performance deficiencies by providing additional information or resources and motivating the employee. These are the steps to give constructive feedback. First, ask for permission to give feedback. Let the employee know that you would like to meet with them regarding feedback. This signal allows the employee to prepare themselves for receiving feedback. Suggest a time and place. State what you have observed as a manager. Be careful to describe the facts without commentary. When possible, it is helpful to provide examples. Third, explain the impact. Do not assume that the impact to the organization is obvious. Help the employee understand how their behavior or action negatively affected the company. Pause. Obtain the person's reaction and explanation. There may be a very good reasons that the situation occurred as it did. Also, the employee may provide additional information such as important details that will help you understand the course of action. And last, suggest concrete next steps. It is important to outline specific, measurable, and timely next steps. Corrective activities should be sufficiently detailed so that the employee clearly understands the expectation. Destructive feedback is generally very generalized or very subjective. It is given when poor performance, if lack of agreed upon performance standards are witnessed. Delivered in a way that negatively impacts the employee can lead to a negative and defensive reaction from the recipient. There are two common mistakes that occur when manager gives feedback. Not being kind. Be careful not to refrain from making personal and generalized comments. It is important to focus on being professional and on the issue, not on the employee. And being too kind. It is important to address the issue in a clear and specific term and not to sugarcoat the situation. Active listening is a critical step in management. It is a process of participating in giving the speaker non-judgmental feedback that demonstrates you are actually hearing the sender. You maintain interest and eye contact throughout the interaction, giving cues that you understand and are attentively listening. Key elements to become an active listener is to clarify, paraphrase, and summarize. Active listening. First step is clarifying, asking the sender to explain and provide more detail by asking questions. Help the receiver understand confusing statements. Second is to paraphrase, restating what is said in your own word. This helps the receiver to understand and provides the sender with an opportunity to expand on the message. And third is to summarize, provide the review of the sender's main point and emotions. While active listening tries to hear the word, they also try to understand the complete message. It is achieved by listening without distraction and without forming counter-argument. Listening is not waiting for your turn to talk. Remember that. Empathetic listening is built upon active listening, the ability to willingly understand and appreciate the other person's feelings, concern, and emotional state without judgment. Second is to seek to understand the sender's personal perspective. And it's different from sympathy, as the receiver does not necessarily agree with the sender's perspective, but instead seeks to see the world through the sender's eye. Empathetic listening has key elements. It is understanding the true feelings and reflecting on those feelings, indicating that you understand the sender's emotion. This is an example of listening responses. Active listening example, clarifying. Let me see if I'm clear about this. Summarizing and paraphrasing. It sounds to me like you're saying this and that. What I'm hearing is, notice the key words and key phrases used in active listening. This shows that you are listening, nodding, giving facial expression, and verbal cues such as Empathetic listening examples keeps focus on the speaker. You did such a great job on that test. Congratulations. It seeks to understand their feeling. I understand. I can see what you're saying. I feel your pain. Those are key phrases used in empathetic listening. There are many different organization-wide communication types, such as online discussion forum, televised videotape speeches, voice broadcasting. These are examples that organizations communicate to its stakeholders and employees. Perception and communication problems. Perception is reality. It is defined as a process of experiencing the world around us. There are 4 stages of perception process: simulation, organization, interpretation and evaluation, and 4th, storage memory. There are a few perception problems. Perception can create communication problems in a workplace. For example, selective perception, tendency to notice and accept what we believe in and discount and ignore that which we don't. Second is closure, tendency to fill in the gap when information is missing, making assumptions based on interpretation of past experience and exposure. Perception problems are critical to identify. In order for managers to avoid perception problems, they must share information clearly and accurately, share information in the most complete manner appropriate, and be transparent in a one-on-one and organization-wide communication.